you all are wondering, our growing zone is 5B6A. An easy way to look up your growing zone is typing in your zip code, your city or town, and finding out what your growing zone is. Hey all, it's Jess from Sunflower Dairy, and I'm out in the greenhouse today. I wanted to get you all a garden tour, but we've had a drought for like a month and a half, and then the day that I want to do a garden tour, it's raining. But I am thankful because we really need the rain. So I'm here today to talk to you about the fall garden, because it is that time. It's mid-August. It's time to start thinking about the fall garden. So a lot of people think, well, I just have a spring and summer garden and then I'm done. Well, that all depends on your growing zone. So depending on your growing zone, you can easily get some fall crops in before we have a deep freeze. So fall crops, a lot of fall crops are actually cold hardy. So meaning if you have a light frost, they'll still survive. Which also, not only can you plant these cold hardy fall crops, but if you check out your frost date, which you do that by looking up what gardening zone you are, and then finding out how many days you have left in your growing zone. So ours, we have somewhere around 70 plus days left until our actual first frost date. So if you want to figure out if you have enough time to plant fall crops or plant another round of something in your fall garden, the easiest way to do that is to look at what you want to plant and then see, like, so these peas say 70 days to maturity. So if you can look at how many days you actually have left in your growing zone, say you have 80-90 days left. If you plant these peas that say they have 70 days to maturity, then you should have enough time. So this here is broccoli, and this says 60 days till maturity. So for my growing zone, we have 70 or more days until our last frost date. So this says 60 days. So, and also broccoli is cold hardy. So I should have enough time to grow this, because cold hardy or frost hardy crops, they keep growing even if you have a frost. It's just that deep freeze that's going to get to them. So, you know, even if you have a freeze, if they're frost hardy, they should be fine. So this says 60 days. We're going to plant this. So cauliflower, this one says 70 days. Cauliflower is cold hardy. We'll have time for this. Kale, 50 days, also cold hardy, so plenty of time for that. Dino kale, 60 days, cold hardy. So scarlet kale, 60 days, cold hardy. So as you can see, these cold hardy crops, you know, even if you're sneaking right up at that frost date, if they're cold hardy, you're going to have time to grow those in your fall garden. So if you want to see if you have enough time for warm weather crops, so just checking out those days on the back of the seed packets to check out if you're going to have enough time before the frost, because, you know, if they are summer crops, which are not cold hardy, then these are the ones that you're really going to be sticking to that first frost date, and you're going to want to really calculate and make sure that you have enough time. But estimated our first frost date is estimated. So it could be a lot later. I've had that happen before. Like, say they tell us that our first frost date is in the middle of October. Well, there's been quite a few times that we haven't had our first frost until early November, middle of November. One time, I believe it was almost December before. So, you know, if you want to experiment, don't be afraid to experiment, because you can easily grow some more things as long as you look at the back of your seed packets and look at how many days it's going to take, and then you know when your frost date is. And if it's just a couple days, you know, experiment. See if it works. See if, you know, your frost comes later. Because, you know, if you can extend that growing time and extend that time that you have to grow things in your garden and harvest, then, you know, it's going to give you that much more of a harvest to have. So this right here, if you want a pollinator, borage, 60 days, we'll have enough time for that. Scallop squash, this is a summer crop, 55 days, so that's cool. Summer crop, 55 days. We're going to have time to plant that, which that will also be cool for growing stuff for, you know, like October, because a lot of people like to decorate with this kind of stuff. And this, you know, instead of having to go and get stuff to decorate with, you'll be able to grow your own. Cucumbers, 55 days. We'll have enough time for that. Basil. Basil is very cold sensitive. So, making sure that you know when your frost date is when you plant this, because the basil does not like the cold. So, 65 days, kind of pushing it, but we have 70 plus days until our frost date. So, this is something that I could either experiment outside and cover when it's getting close to that frost date, or I could put it in the greenhouse, or if you had like a little glass planter that, you know, people, they close up, you could plant it in there. So, you know, experiment with that. See if that's something that works out for you. And zucchini, round zucchini, 8-ball zucchini, 50 days. So, more zucchini. Our long cucumbers, 55 days. So, more cucumbers in 55 days. String beans, 60 days. So, you can get in another fall harvest of string beans. Cilantro. So, a lot of people don't know this, but cilantro actually prefers to be planted in the fall. So, cilantro will actually overwinter. And a lot of times, cilantro wants to grow in the cold. A lot of people think, oh, cilantro goes with tomatoes and salsa, so it goes in the summer garden. But actually, no. Cilantro really loves the cold. So, definitely enough time for cilantro. And, you know, even if you live in a really cold area, you can grow cilantro. Beets. So beet is considered a fall or cold hardy crop. 55 days, so definitely enough time for that. I could even put 2 sowings in of beets. Radishes. 27 days. You could have so many different sowings and harvests of radishes between now and when you get a freeze. So you could grow a lot of radishes. Carrots. 60 days. can definitely have enough time to get a harvest of those. Swiss chard. 45 days, so you could easily sow this a couple times. Spinach. 45 days. So spinach is super cold hardy, just like cilantro. This likes to be planted in the cold. So spinach, you could definitely plant spinach a couple times and get a couple different harvests of spinach before, like, even if you get a freeze of, you know, on your spinach. I've had spinach several times. It will freeze. It will be fine. I pick it. It's good. So you can definitely plant spinach. I've even had spinach over winter several times. Carrots. 55 days. So you could sow these a couple times. Lettuce. Couple different kinds of lettuces. 60 days, so you can definitely plant some lettuce. Lettuce also likes cooler weather, so definitely get some lettuce in your fall garden. Radish. 60 days. Like I said, radishes like the cold. And if you want to experiment with some pollinators in your garden or some winter flowers, I had a ton of snapdragons over winter in the greenhouse. So if you easily had a way to cover, either, you know, doing a sheet or a low tunnel, or even if you did, you know, a little greenhouse like you all have seen, the little hoop house or cattle panel greenhouse that we did, if you easily did something like that, you could grow some winter snapdragons. I had these blooming in January in here. That's crazy. And this greenhouse is not heated at all. So as you all can see, there's still so many things you can plant in your fall garden. So make sure you kind of look and see what your frost date is and kind of get those days calculated so you can still plant a bunch more for fall. Alright all, thanks for watching. Have a blessed day.